Yeah.
in that 6 to 5, 7 to 9, the 3 to 2 positions?
I'll tell you what, I think a more flexible player is a better player. The one exception is catcher. Okay, that position is so unique to the sport, and it's so important to the sport that you got to get good at it if you want to play it at a high level. So if you're a catcher and you see yourself as a catcher, you need to catch. You need to get behind the plate and you need to do it often. Because what happens with catchers is they confuse the block with the field, and that's really hard to reconcile when you're flexible. Third baseman and catchers. Infielders, just play infield. Okay, the thing that I notice is when players get married to a position, it creates tension on the team. It creates tension with the coaches. It makes for a tough kid to recruit later on. You know, the one position that has that glamour attached to it is shortstop. And I get it. I get it. If you talk to college coaches will say, well, we recruit shortstops, then move them to different positions. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I know why it's a glamorous position. But, you know, if you're married to shortstop and then you go to college and they want to make you a second base, it'd be nice if you actually knew how to play second base. And I tweeted something the other day, great teams make great sacrifices. And, you know, when you're done playing this game or you're done coaching this game, your memories are going to revolve around, man, you remember those big wins. Remember how we felt when we won. And, you know, in order to accomplish those things, you need good players on your team. And only one guy goes to shortstop. Only one guy. And if I put you at third, doesn't mean I don't value you as a player. If I put you at second, doesn't mean I don't value you as a player. It just means that you need to play infield for us today. And, you know, as a coach, maybe we'd be best served to create that mindset right away. Like I had, man, the more I think about some of the guys I coached, but I coached Anthony Volpe, who's committed to Vanderbilt, and then I coached Jimmy Lodge, who's going to Millersville, Cedar Cliff shortstop. And we would roll into these tournaments, and they were spectacular together. I mean, they would turn double plays. I mean, like high schools don't even turn anymore. And I would tell them, you guys are going to alternate. You're going to alternate short and second, back and forth, back and forth. And they were like, that's fair. I get it. And neither one stood on principle and said, I'm a shortstop. You know, so the answer to that question is be flexible. Outfielders, there's a stigma attached to going to the outfield. One of the things I tell them, if you look at major league stats and your greatest home run hitters, they're outfielders. Outfielders hit. You know, and so, you know, you could flip it on them and say, look, I'm putting you outfield for a couple of reasons. First off, selfishly, I think you make us better. But also, I think you're going to hit enough to play the position down the road. I think you're going to hit enough. And if you don't have any outfield experience and you can swing it, that I've done you a disservice. I need to make you flexible enough when you get to high school or college that you're not a fish out of water in the outfield because you're going to hit, right? And so that message builds them up. That says, oh, he's putting me out there because he sees my value as an outfielder. You know, you might have to talk mom and dad into it. You know, you might be able to convince the son, but mom and dad might need to hear that. What else? Yeah. No, good. It's all good.
When you take BP, individual BP, hanging over G-Dub,
Yeah.
you're in there for your 30 minutes. A lot of people think last swings are better.
Yeah.
A lot of people think less swings are better.
Right.
What's your take?
So I think productive swings are better. So again, when you go into the cage, you got to have a mindset. What am I coming in here for? My son walks in. If he sees his buddies, he's like, "Oh, sweet, let's." They hang out. They like to, maybe they want to get in a horse game or something like that. But if it's just you and your son, or it's just one-on-one, if they value the tee, I think it's one of the most invaluable things out there. And I'm going to tell you right now where I'm at with respect to tee work and batting practice. So I believe the greatest resource we have is our imagination. I think it's so critical. And I've said the greatest baseball players have the greatest imagination. And I think that we might be more productive spending time on a tee than taking batting practice, for the simple fact that when we take batting practice, the thrown ball gives us a visual that we embrace. someone's throwing me the ball, I can see it and I'm going to hit it. But that's not authentic. We don't hit from 60, like we can't recreate that. So in many respects, batting practice potentially might not be great. It might not be great, okay? I've seen guys look lousy in BP and then go rake in the game and vice versa. Rake in BP and look lousy in a game, right? And now look, I get that. There's the randomness to it all. But it certainly isn't, it isn't causal. Like, that doesn't translate to that all the time. Here's why I love the T-work. Because if you have an imagination, you can look out there and you can see 60 feet, 6 inches away. And you can see what uniform he's in. And you can see if he's right-handed or if he's left-handed. You can see his body type. And you can simulate the pitch in your brain. And then you can execute the move in your brain. And then you can reset it again. It takes a very mature mindset. But part of me thinks that T-work is more valuable than batting practice because of that imagination component. Because if you have great imagination, you can recreate the live at bat better than anything else that you can do. You know, and anyone that finds a way to make batting practice authentic, they've done it. They've done it. That's the one missing component. People have tried to create that, was it the pro batter or whatever that, you know, they've tried all these different things to simulate it, and they can't do it. And they can't do it because ultimately they're using machine to launch the ball forward. It's never quite authentic. So I would do T-work, and then I would be precise with something shorter like a flip. Maybe I'd say, so I'm going to flip you balls. And again, I like this. This has value. You know, what I tend to do is I tend to get on a knee and do this, but this has a ton of value. But as they get older, what I find myself saying is, I'm not throwing you all cookies. I'm throwing you, I need you to show me some play discipline. And then I'll throw some in that I expect them to take, and then I'll throw them some cookies where they can smash and just blow it up. And then I'll back it up, and then I'll get on a knee. I do love this, by the way. Like, don't feel like that's a concession. Like, throwing on a knee from short distance is exactly how you should do it. And Major League Baseball is realizing that now. If you watch their short work is on a knee, because they realize that's the ball. When the ball is at that distance away, it's at that height. So they're even realizing that now. And then I'll do that. One of the things that I've come to embrace at this point is I think too often we try, at least I try, to throw fastballs, curveballs, call it unpredictable. You don't need to throw a curveball to make it unpredictable. All you got to do is throw fast and slow when you go to a knee. And then one of the biggest mechanical pieces that kids struggle with is when they really get into this front leg, then they get stuck and blocked. And that's one way to implicitly teach them, is if you throw fast and then you throw soft, they'll go, geez, like I'm waiting to get the fastball, and then that's by me, and then I'm out in front of the soft thing. So it's a really implicit way to train them how to fire correctly. Just some fast and some slow, and it's real simple. I mean, I say it's real simple. It's not. Of course, it's not simple to execute, but it's a simple concept to try to throw some fast and some slow.
Can we use language staying back? Like if a kid travels significantly on that soft pitch, and we're having a good night where we're looking to get better and we're willing to hear feedback.
Yeah.
Is that the language you would use? What would be the word? If I saw my son do a lot of lunging forward because he was just sitting dead red or whatever it was, what would be the wording you would use on that?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things. You know, I was talking to Billy White yesterday, and Billy uses the phrase braces his front leg too quick. You know, I've used the phrase you're cutting yourself off. You know, anything that indicates that this front leg is grabbing the ground too fast. Last year, I would say stable is stuck. Stable is stuck, which meant once you get both feet firmly planted on the ground, essentially you get blocked where you don't feel like you can do what you want to do. You know, when I work with catchers or pitchers, one of the drills, and you'll see this constantly, is you'll see people gaining ground on that back leg. The idea being is that, you know, we have to be able to fire from this leg whenever we want. If we don't have the ability to fire from that leg, if this front leg is always rushing to the ground, then we can't fire on time, okay? We want to have the ability to fire on time. So that idea right there is feeling this, not letting this thing just rush forward. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I'm hesitant to suggest any without knowing your son or knowing your team, but essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to make this thing land quiet, and then this thing fire you in that direction. That's essentially what you're trying to do. So you can be on time to all different kinds of pitches. That's essentially what you're trying to do.
My son liked staying behind the baseball.
Oh, it's a great cue.
Yeah.
Great cue.
That made sense to him.
Yeah, so staying behind the baseball, like when you get out here and you get locked down, the tendency is to want to go this way. When you can control this, then you can stay behind the baseball. Yeah.
Do you not follow the flex through it?
No, what's that? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So what he's talking about is he's talking about something that the role of this front leg. So this front leg, when that thing does that barrel's ready to come into the zone. And if it's an off-speed pitch, this front leg doesn't necessarily even have to do anything. Like this front leg could literally just stay right here to give you an opportunity to stay behind the baseball. If that thing is constantly pushing, and then you become inflexible. You become less adaptive. What else? Yeah. Yep.
Might as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned about the catcher, obviously an important position that you want to specialize in.
Yeah.
What age frame, what knowledge frame, kid, would you start allowing them to start calling their own games? Would you start out inning? Would you start out batter? What's your thoughts?
One of the reasons why, I'll say this. The only reason that we would not let a kid call a game is fear of the result, right? Because if we didn't care about the result, we would say, you just call what you want, what's the matter? I'll just sit in the bucket and watch you do it, right? But we have this fear that he's going to do something wrong. So one of the things that I've done, and I'm willing to tell anyone this is what you should do, this is absolutely what you should do, is you should create a signal system that you can see from the bench. So if your catcher's calling pitches and it's disguised, well, now it's disguised for everyone, and we're like, oh my gosh, what if he called a changeup? What if he called a changeup? He's going to speed his bat up. So if you have a system in place where everyone can see the signals, including the outfield, right, including the other team, they just don't know what it is. Now, if you're watching intently enough and you're like, changeup, step off. You can't call it changeup, right? You can't call it changeup. And then you say, no, and then you call something, right? But if you have a way to just guide him in the process, he can call the game whenever he wants. One of the things I'm constantly doing is questioning how can we call it faster? Why? What's to say the pitcher can't call the game? Why can't the pitcher call the game? The pitcher should know what he wants to call. He should think right along with the catcher, right? Really, the catcher's just suggesting pitches. He's the one calling the game. So last year, creatively. Now teams. What are you laughing about this?
You're crazy.
What's that?
You're crazy. That's funny to say it that way.
What?
Why wouldn't the pitcher call a game?
Why would the pitcher call a game?
Why is it always the catcher? He's the one making the call up there anyway.
Yeah. So
tell me you had a system out there.
We did have a system.
You're crazy.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, we had a system. What's that?
Why can't pitchers hit?
Because they don't train them. They just give up on them. Yeah, exactly. So what we did, I'll tell you, and you can be creative. Jason knows this. We talked about this. You used it.
That's awesome.
So any hard cut, Kentucky, Kansas, Connecticut, Carolina, Colgate, Cornell, meant continue, right? So if he threw a fastball and I liked the pitch, and we were going to beat his bat, I would yell Carolina, and Carolina meant continue. So if he threw a curveball and I liked it and I wanted to curveball, I'd yell Carolina. So Carolina didn't mean fastball, it meant continue. So it meant two different things depending on what you threw before it. And then any vowel sound meant flip the speed. All right. So if you went fastball and I said Arizona, that meant I want something soft. Now they would call changeup or curveball, but I wanted something soft. Now later I said, all right. So